So,
As long as we got it done.
better late than
That's
never.
right. That's right.
And
So
we got it together. But yeah, how's your day going so far?
it's going pretty good. The week's going pretty well. Staying busy, as usual, helping entrepreneurs get started in business and getting through some of the roadblocks and, things of that sort. So,
Nice.
how about you? How's everything on your side?
Oh, today I think I told you a little bit about what was going on, but my daughter was in the hospital this morning, so we gotta expect the unexpected, right? That's why it's so important to have things in place,
Yeah.
like life insurance, like the LLCs. These are all critical to our future. So,
Yeah, very much so. I mean, like those unforeseen events that happen is just like, whoa. Like, and I'm hoping everything's okay and she's recovering pretty all right.
yeah.
But it's like being proactive versus reactive. I think that's and it's funny this week too. I had an entrepreneur that was very, very like curious of how to get started with his business and how to, structure and things of that sort. And I'm like talking them through, and it took a couple months. I mean, we're talking about maybe over like 4 or 5 months of conversation, going back and forth of how to get started, and then we got started. And it literally, I was like, "Hey, you're done," and it was the same day turnaround, and not, and with the LLC and structuring that's a whole nother piece, but just getting through the door, right? He was
Mhm.
very conscious of like a little bit nervous. I think everyone gets nervous about that first step and getting started.
Right.
But I was like, hey, you're all done. He's like, that fast? I'm like, yeah, it's literally that fast, right? And then he's like, man, I should have done this like a long time ago. And I'm like, hey, the importance is not that you got it done like whenever you got it done. It's the fact that you actually went forward and you got it done. So, that's the really cool part.
Yeah, it's
And
just a matter of them taking that first step.
yeah, for sure, for sure. So, I mean, that's the biggest thing. In your world, do you feel like is that an opportunity for people getting started? Are they nervous, or do you feel like it's like an educational thing?
Yeah, I think it's really just you know, just being ignorant to the fact of being uneducated about life insurance, just not knowing and not taking that step to, just find out more information. I feel like nowadays, we're living in this virtual world and it's right in front of our face. Everybody's talking about, life insurance and what it actually can do for you and your family, right?
Mm,
When a lot of people, when we had the lack of knowledge, we didn't have all this technology and we didn't have it all in front of our face. People think about life insurance as they think about death immediately.
yeah.
Like we only need life insurance when we die.
Right.
No, this is how the wealthy get wealthy. This is why, people have hundreds and thousands of ads of becoming your own bank and building, generational wealth, because life insurance is one of those vehicles to get you and your family there. And again, I think it is just lack of knowledge, but it's like it's right in front of our face now. And so I think, people will tune in and they'll watch and they'll gain a little bit of info, but they don't take action. So I think it's very similar of, setting up your business, right? They have that stuck mentality, but if you just take the first step, then it's like, wow,
The relief.
I wish I would have done this sooner.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, and I think that's the part, like, right? Is I think is if you try to figure out and do it on your own, then it becomes challenging and it becomes overwhelming. But if you ask for help and then just getting information, right? So like I think when I think about when in credit, I think about business, I think about the life insurance, I think it's a knowledge piece, right? It's
Right.
like asking those questions to figure out like, okay, is this for me, right? Or does this
Right.
make sense? Does it fit my what I'm looking to achieve, my goals, my family goals, my legacy, and things of that sort. And the education piece is the key, right? It's like when I was doing research on like, and talking with you this week, I was like, is there a way to put the LLC in the life insurance, right? So if something happens to me, what happens to my business, right? Now,
Right.
with the business, if you don't have anything set up like an operational agreement or like any type of structure around your business, when something happens and you pass away, your business goes to the state and everything you worked for in that business goes bye-bye, right? So it's like, how do you avoid that? Well, you got to create your operating agreement. And then I was like, well, yeah, our worlds are very similar, and as far as financial freedom and structure, right? You create a business you worked 40, 50, 60 years to, you want to most likely want to pass that down to your family if they want to take it, whatever they want to do after you're gone. But it's like there's a way to communicate that so that happens, right? So it doesn't just go bye-bye and the state take it. Without the operating agreement and things in structure and set up, that's
Right.
not possible, right? So it made me think one step further as is it possible in the life insurance, will it can be tied together with your LLC and your business? And some of the things we found out this week was like, oh yeah, it can. You can
Yeah.
set your beneficiary as your LLC. Now and disclosure, we are not like tax professionals and things of that sort. We both your world is in your life insurance industry. My world is structuring LLCs and getting people set up. But again, we're not tax professionals. But we can give you guidance on making sure both of your worlds are set up correctly. But it was a learning lesson for me. As like, if I
Right.
didn't actually look at that as someone that does have life insurance for their family, I'm the beneficiary. Like my family is the beneficiary. I apologize around my policy and things of that sort. So I didn't know I could put the business as the beneficiary, which was like really, really cool. And it's just like it took me 3 minutes to find that answer, right? So I think again, you gotta have to be proactive and go for looking for those answers. And it's real easy
Yeah.
just not to do it, right? So but taking those steps, asking questions, reaching out to agents, to, partners, and then just
Right.
getting that education.
People in the field that are, experts at what they do. You for the LLCs, myself for the life insurance. So, as far as like the LLC as a beneficiary, most of the time, because honestly, I help probably maybe 60 to 70% of my business are entrepreneurs, setting them up with IULs. And the majority of the time, the way that we set up the IUL is when the LLC, when their business is actually operating in the trust, and then the trust becomes the beneficiary. Now, the good thing about it is if you already have an IUL policy and you don't have it set up that way, the beneficiary is one of the easiest things to change on a life insurance policy. So if they don't have it set up that way, if they don't even have a trust in place yet, maybe they do just put their business as the beneficiary. They can always go back and change that in the future, whenever they get that. But the fact of the matter is, just like what we said before, just start. But at least knowing that you have those options available on a life insurance policy, the beneficiary is probably one of the easiest things to
Right.
change. So,
So you're telling me I can change the beneficiary like I changed an authorized user on my phone bill. Are you telling me it's that simple?
well, it's a simple matter of, you got to call the carrier. They'll probably send you an
Right.
email, a document
Verification.
that you just sign off on, and then you're good to
That's all.
go. So,
Is there any limitations on that? Like, is there like, can I change five in a year? Is there like any restrictions or anything like that?
no, I haven't run into any restrictions.
That's pretty.
I've had a
That's
few
pretty cool.
people, just say, "Hey, I want to change it," from my spouse to the trust, and so on and so forth. So it's fairly easy,
Oh,
but
that's awesome. So I didn't know that. So that's really good for some future changes. If I need to make changes or add folks,
yeah, the
but
more we
changing
know,
it
right?
like an authorized user on the phone bill, which is really cool. Now you talked about trust. Can you kind of go into like what is the trust? I think beneficiaries is like the authorized user on the kind of I relate it to that because when you think of a plan, you think of your authorized users and who has access to the plan and things of that sort. What's the trust entail? How does that work?
So I won't speak in detail about the
Right.
trust only because I don't specifically set up the trust for my clients.
Gotcha.
But
Okay.
what I will say is that we always tell them, if they're worried about just setting it up properly, we have. So I'm an insurance broker, so I've got several carriers. I think one that we spoke about where the carrier actually it comes your life insurance policy or your IUL will come with a living trust and will
Uh-huh.
will come with that power of attorney, estate planning, so that you can set everything up correctly. As far as the trust goes, yeah, the trust is going to, like you said, it's kind of like an authorized user where everything goes into the trust so that, you're able to, it's able to tell, who gets what essentially. But it is protection, over your family. Um, and again, I do have some carriers that where the living will and trust will come with a policy, which is good because if you're getting an IUL or a life insurance policy, either way, it saves the family a couple $1,000s because it's already attached to the life insurance. So
Wow. That's huge.
get the whole package.
Yeah, that's huge. That's really, really great. Um, yeah, I mean, I think it's like a no-brainer for me. I think structuring both is just as important. What I see in my world, as far as entrepreneurs getting started, it's like, I'm being someone that has worked in corporate and retail for like 20 years. I understood that. Um, I traded time for money, right? So it's like, being salary or being not salary, there was a cap for me. If I was salaried, then it was like, okay, I'm only making X amount of dollars per year. And that's it. It didn't matter if I worked 45 hours or I worked 50 hours or I worked 60 hours, unless I was commissioned, right? Commission would be the only way I could impact my income past the 9 to 5 because put in more effort, you get more return results. But you got tax and all that stuff,
Right,
right?
right,
So you trade time for money, right? And then as I developed the entrepreneur world, I was able to unlock my ability to make money at my own time, right? So that was the most like thing for me when it came to financial freedom is like, wow, it's like I no longer have to work to get paid, right? So they don't pay you until you do the work, right? You wait for that biweekly paycheck. Some people are paid weekly, but you're waiting till Thursday. You're waiting till Friday. You're looking at the clock like, oh man, like
right.
it's time to pay. The bills don't stop. They keep rolling in, right? When you unlock that entrepreneurship with the LLC and creating your own business, and everybody has a skill. Like I think that's the biggest piece. It's like everybody in the world is good at something, right?
Right.
So I think when you unlock that piece and use it to be able to serve people, to be able to help people, to be able to encourage people, that's when you unlock that actual financial freedom, right? Not the ability to make money, but the ability to help people that can then turn into a financial gain for you. And it's like as you unlock that barrier from being limited of making money to the sky's the limit, that's the piece, making $500 in a minute, making like $1,000 in a week, that's the part where you change the financial piece. Now, as that money is coming in as an entrepreneur, you need to then make strategic moves, rather that be in the stock market or another way is setting up that financial freedom through legacy. And then the legacy piece would be that life insurance policy, right? And just to ask you if you could share, do you see the ranges of cost? I know everybody's different policy cost wise, but what is some of the minimum policy plans that they can set up their legacy for?
Um, I think, like you said, it just depends on the individual. Life insurance really they take into consideration three main factors. It's going to be your age, number one, because
Yeah.
as we know, as we get older, the rates are only going to get higher. And then they take into consideration your health and your habits. Obviously, somebody who may not be as healthy or may have some health complications, let's just be realistic. They may not qualify for an IUL.
Okay.
yes, like an index universal life policy is one of the most flexible policies out there in life insurance, but it is the hardest to get approved for. And that's, just again, based on age, health, and habits.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and again, if those are against, the client, the next best thing would be an annuity. Some people don't want an IUL. Some people don't. They want an annuity, and I work with those as well, fixed annuities. So, and we can dive into that, per client if interested. But yeah, those are really the three main factors. I say, I mean, something as small as $50 a month. We waste that alone on subscriptions or fast food or stuff that's not good for us. Even like with the kids can get set up on a whole life policy for $25 a month,
Wow.
you know. Between me and my kid, well, between my two kids, 6 and 9, I have both of them on a $50,000 children's whole life policy, and I pay a little less than $50 a
Wow.
month. So even to set them up and have them protected, I mean, it's a no brainer. Like I said, we waste $50, you know, some
Yeah,
people per day on just
spending $20 a
whatever.
day. The
Right.
average American is spending the minimum $20 a day, and
Yeah.
like think the very minimum. I looked it up the other day. It's like how much do we spend in a month? I think it was in fast food just alone. They said the average American spends $160 to $240 a month on fast food, right? And like that's because we're trading time for the food, for the fuel to keep going, right? So
Right.
like when we're working the 9 to 5 and you're like we get off of work and you're like, oh, I got from 5 to 10, and if you have children it gets harder and you're like, oh, I don't have time to cook, I'm just gonna order.
Right.
The box of pizza comes in 20 minutes, you eat and you're working or you're taking
Yeah.
care of the house. So it can be very, very, very challenging if you're not planning and doing things of that sort. But it's just like literally that those 2 boxes of pizza a month can pay for it. The legacy and going on.
Yeah, and just like you said, I mean, what you said, 100 between 160 to 200 and something a month.
Yeah,
Like, imagine putting that into an IUL monthly.
yeah,
I mean, you could be retired with some cash value in your life insurance policy, and
yeah. You
it'd be
could
all
be
good.
my role for an LLC, depending on the state, you're looking at like your Netflix subscription if you got the premium. Some people get the premium, no ads. I was
Yeah,
always the basic guy, the 5.99, but I even cut that. I just do Wi-Fi. But it's your Netflix subscription for a year. That's what it costs to set up your
okay.
LLC, right? So it's just like when you look at the opportunities to build wealth and structure, it takes time, asking questions, and then asking for help, right? So time, asking questions. Yeah, money is a factor, but you have to look at your total lifestyle and say, when am I able to adjust, cut out, or cut out to gain future financial wealth and growth,
Right.
which is really, really cool. All
Yep.
right.
Just like we said before, just being proactive versus reactive.
Nice, nice.
Especially when we get up in age to that retirement, when we're like, we look at all the money we lost in our 401k, or what, I'm only getting paid this much through Social Security, and then they go scrambling for other investment
Mm-hmm.
vehicles. Well, now I got to pull out of my 401k and figure out where am I going to put this, that, and the third, so that my money can grow even more, because they lost so much over the years.
Yeah.
um
And then there's penalties if they do it
yeah,
before time, and it becomes really messy. So
yeah,
uh, I think there's a lot of benefit in it. I see a ton. I have it for the family, and it's a ton of benefit for it. So it only makes sense, right? I think,
yeah,
again, if you have a skill, you have a talent, I think you need to invest in that. That's your first initial investment. Invest in yourself, invest in your skill. If you do something well, teach it forward or help people with it,
yeah,
and then you structure it, right? Structure that into a form of business, right? It don't take, seconds to get that, form that. And then after that, figure out how to structure that flow of income. And it's going to start, you're not going to make $1 million overnight, but you're going to grow year after year after year, but you have to stick with it.
yeah.
stick with it. So starting, sticking with it, and growth comes along with that.
Yeah.
You structure it into an investment with your legacy, IULs, things of that sort. So that's amazing strategy. So I'm glad to help anybody. I already know that you are helping people with it. And
Well,
again,
I have to let me ask you this because I'm sure a lot of people who work, let's say, in the corporate world. What would you tell them would be the benefits of actually getting an LLC, putting everything under a business rather than themselves individually?
yeah, so I kind of touched on it in the beginning, right? I think the biggest benefit you're able to control your income, right? I think the piece of it that was a big eye opener for me. I was like, oh wow, like my first year in business, I was able to my very first client, I was able to make what I made in like I think it was the very first client that I had. It was like the very first 2 hours covered the first 1 day worth of work for me. And I was like, wait a minute, like that 2 hours
Yeah,
I made up front that would took me all day to make at work. And I was just like, all right. And I was like super excited. So that was my first realization. I said, oh wow, I really do have control of my own income and my future and my freedom. And then as I began to serve and develop, the other great piece of it was like the development piece. So I was like, oh wow, like not only am I able to serve, but I'm also developing as an individual, right? I'm able to meet people. Like we connected online, right? We met online. I think it was like maybe 3 years ago,
yeah,
something like that. And it's just like, whoa, like, and now we're connecting on video and talking about our industries, but you develop these relationships over time and you start to know these people. You start to know your clients, right? So
yeah,
the biggest benefit that I was able to see, outside the financial piece of it, I think that comes over time, but you actually develop and grow as an individual. I think with the 9 to 5, I learned a lot of skills in my, retail and professional career. I'm still learning each day, but the greatest piece is like, there's no cutoff to it. Like that 9 to 5 that you're working towards is like there are a lot of benefits. They do give you the skills, the resources for free, but you still have to apply those, right?
right,
But you're limited, you're capped. Say you want to move up in your 9 to 5 and you can't get into that development plan. You can't get that buy-in from your boss. You can't connect to the core values and the mission statement from the company. So you're done, right? You feel trapped. You feel like, oh, I can't move up. I can't be anything in this world. And that's not true. You are somebody in this world and you can accomplish your goals and do more, but you have to believe in yourself to execute on that skill, right? When I first and the LLC, right? I think that's just putting your name out there, right? I think a lot of people get confused of like, oh, I need my LLC to be in business, right? Yeah, when you create your LLC, you're establishing officially through the state that you are a business owner, but you can start developing and creating your own business plan on day one. You can do that at any point. It's actually free to create a business plan, right? So that's the biggest benefits, right? And then you'll see that year one you'll make a certain amount. You stick with it, year two you'll make double. Year three you'll make triple. For year
right.
four you make quadruple. So it's like that's the part
Snowball
where
effect.
yeah, that's the part where you actually really start to grow. So that's the biggest benefits that I've seen helping clients, entrepreneurs, getting them to achieve their goals. And there's nothing like seeing your name and your business on paper and say, "Oh, I own that." Not 50%, not on the clock, not through the salary or wages, but you own that 100%. It's hard
Right.
work. Don't get it. Don't get it twisted. It's very hard work. But you work on yourself like you would be working on that 9 to 5.
Yeah.
That's what I tell people all the time.
Yeah, and it all ties in together. Like for instance, since being in the insurance industry, I even have somebody on my team that does credit building, credit repair, and business funding. Now,
Mm-hmm.
how do the clients get business funding? They leverage their personal credit. So, what do we need in order to do that? We need an LLC that's
Yeah.
aged for at least a year. But also, he's doing this for other agents on my team so that they can leverage their credit, the business funding to scale their insurance business.
Mhm.
So, at the end of the day, it all ties into each other, but it's just a matter of tuning into lives like this just to, pick up little gems here and there to set themselves up. Yeah.
Yeah,
You miss zero. What did I say? You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take, and
every
it's
day.
just a matter of asking questions. People know that you're an expert at setting up LLCs, setting up their business. People know that I'm an expert, at life insurance and financial literacy, educating them on generational wealth in that aspect. So with that though, we're in this for the long haul, right? We are entrepreneurs. We have resources. So if somebody needs, somebody who does credit building and business funding and things like that, we got you.
Yeah, yeah,
So, just like we said, it's a snowball effect, but it's just a matter of starting.
yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, this is a phenomenal chat. I really appreciate the
yeah,
time and talking through it. I think there's a lot of gems. I think anyone that's watching, definitely if you have comments or questions, definitely put them in the chat. If you need to reach any of us, we'll comment in the chat. Erica, if you want to just save this video so everyone can have access to it, like I
yes,
think there's an option at the end, save published video. And then you can share like any questions I feel like anybody can ask us here, and we'll be able to answer them for you. And then if you guys heard anything that you liked or had, like, oh, that's a good idea, or any follow up, share that with your friend, your family, another entrepreneur. And again, like Erica said, we may not have all the answers for you, but we have resources, a network full connections that can get you those answers and be able to help. So, biggest takeaway was for me is that we just got to start, right? We just got to open the conversations. People say slide in the DM, ask the
exactly.
question. And again, the timing is everything, right? You don't, if you can't do it right away, but at least you have the education. So when you are ready, you can start. I see that in my world all the time. They're like, hey, Raf, just want to talk. I just want to figure this out. And when I'm ready, you're my guy. I'm like, absolutely, no pressure. But let me answer some questions for you. And
Right.
questions are minimum, right? And I think the same thing in your world is like it's the fear of overcoming, is it cost? Well, if it's not cost, then what do you get? Like who's involved? Who's important in your life? Who's the person you love to death that, you want to make sure that they're good for the rest of their lives. So great
Exactly.
stuff. Good stuff. All right, gang.
All
I'll see you all
right.
out there. Like, share, subscribe, comment. We'll be here for you.
Yeah, you know where to reach us.
All right.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Brad.
Eric. I'll see
All
you.
right. Take care.